Before I start, I'd like to give a little background.
Last month, I started writing 2 different scripts for future videos, and I made a poll on Twitter. Side note, you should totally follow me if you haven't already. Asking which video you'd like to see first, my review of High School Musical 3 senior year, or a video about some of the dumbest censored lyrics I've ever heard.
Well, big shocker. The vast majority of the people voted for the latter? Wait, really? Oh my god. You guys do care about my sanity.
Okay, so my next video will be about High School Musical 3, but today I want to have a little fun.
So, here's the deal.
In my opinion, the issue of censorship in the media is a bit more nuanced than people give it credit for. It isn't always just a simple case of the poor artist wants his work to be seen, but the big, bad record companies / government officials / overly offended soccer moms want to keep him down. No, for as many arguments I've heard against censorship, there are times where, while I still usually fall on the anti-censorship side, I can also see where the pro-censorship crowd is coming from.
For me, the problem lies more with what they censor and how they censor it. And whoo boy, did they botch that a lot!
Whether it's for radio edits, cover versions, or whatever else, here are 10 examples of downright terrible censoring that I just happen to think of off the top of my head.
And it probably goes without saying that this video will have some foul language, so viewer discretion is advised. With that said, let's get started.
I bet you they won't play this song on the radio. I bet you they won't play this new song.
Now, starting off this list, we're going back to the 1970s, with a classic case of music censorship involving a song about a particularly controversial topic.
Lola is a classic song by British rock band The Kinks about a young man who hooks up with an attractive woman who turns out to be transgender. It has since become one of the band's more well-known hits, and is seen as a positive commentary about being trans.
But at the time, the BBC had a big problem with it. That's right. They objected to this line.
I met her in a club down in Old Soho, where you drink champagne and it tastes just like Coca-Cola. C-O-L-A Cola.
Yeah, surprisingly enough, the BBC didn't have any objection to the song's subject matter. No, they objected to the song mentioning Coca-Cola, since at the time they had strict rules against product placement in song lyrics. This is why, if you hear the song on the radio today, you hear these lyrics instead.
And it tastes just like cherry cola. C-O-L-A Cola.
Apparently, Ray Davies, the Kinks' lead singer, had to make a 6,000-mile round trip from New York to London and back just to re-record that line for the single release.
Now, I find this funny.
Because if something like this happened today, the reaction would probably be the exact opposite. A song with this subject matter would spark lots of controversy and would likely be banned from the radio for it.
And as for product placement, well...
Versace. Take a picture of me with a Kodak.
Calling the world from isolation.
I think we're all pretty much desensitized to that.
Ah yes, I Write Sins Not Tragedies, Panic! At the Disco's first top 10 hit and one of the band's biggest hits to date.
I chime in with a haven't you people ever heard of closing a damn door, no?
Okay, I find it funny that they censor the word goddamn in each chorus.
But in the line right before this, they leave the word horror uncensored.
But what a shame the poor groom's bride is a whore.
Priorities!
Honestly, can we just make a dishonorable mention for every song that censors the word goddamn?
They cut off my legs, now I'm an amputee. Damn you.
Like, I don't get why radio stations do this. Apparently there's even an FCC regulation about it. I get that it's considered blasphemy and all that, but...
Isn't that kind of a non-issue in a country that's self-proclaimed not to be dictated by religion?
Also, why did they censor the word God but not the word damn?
Haven't you people ever heard of closing a damn door, no?
Wouldn't it make more sense to be the other way around? I remember back in middle school, students could get in trouble for saying the word damn, but people said God all the time without repercussions.
What a strange way of censoring lyrics that aren't really that offensive.
Gotta get it, yep.
Speaking of hit songs from last decade, if you grew up in the 2000s, you'd remember that this song was huge. It was a Black Eyed Peas' first #1 hit in the US and was one of the biggest hits of 2009. Incidentally, it was also the big selling out moment for the group.
But I digress. See, what I wanted to talk about is this lyric.
Here we go, satellite radio, y'all get hit with the boom, boom.
Since this song was so big, I had to hear it plenty of times, and I often heard that lyric changed to this.
Here we go, radio, y'all get hit with the boom, boom.
Why the hell was satellite censored?
Now, non-dirty words have been pointlessly censored in rap songs before, like in Starships by Nicki Minaj. The original line there was, "My name is Onika, you can call me Nicki." So they literally censored Nicki Minaj's real name from the radio, which is stupid, but I can kind of see why because it sort of sounds like a certain profanity. But satellite? That doesn't sound like any kind of swear word.
The only other thing I can think is, was it censored due to competition?
Was satellite radio seen as such a huge threat that any mention of it would be censored? Was this line FM radio trying to make one last stand?
Because forgive me for saying so, but starting a terrestrial radio revolution would take a lot more than just eliminating one line in a Black Eyed Peas song.
Man in the Box was released by Alice in Chains in 1991, and is one of the band's most recognizable songs as well as being one of the first hits of the grunge era. But to receive play on MTV or radio, they had to alter a few of the lyrics.
So this alteration is especially terrible if you know the song's meaning.
Man in the Box is about censorship and how the government controls what people see and hear on the media, hence the chorus of "Feed My Eyes." Given this fact, I have to wonder how Lane Staley felt about not only having to record a censored version of the lyrics, but having to lip-sync to the censored lyrics in the music video. The line doesn't even make sense. In the first lyric he says he's in a box, but in the second he's in a pit?
They even do this to the second verse. Though with that line, I don't know, the censored version is still pretty gross.
I mean, having your nose shoved in shit is no fun, but having it shoved in spit isn't any fun either. This is one of those rare occasions where the censored version of the lyrics is just as gross as the uncensored original.
And, whoa, anyone notice how low budget this music video is?
Yeah, you can tell this was a pre-Nirvana grunge video. Half the video is just filming a TV screen. Lane barely looks like he's actually singing, and not only is Jerry's guitar not plugged in, but it changes from a Stratocaster to a Telecaster in between shots. And how much do you want to bet that half the video's budget went to this one effect at the end?
Oh my god, I'm talking way too much about that music video. Let's move on. Alvin and the Chipmunks did a cover of Don't Stop Believin' by Journey. Because of course they did.
It was late 2000s, everyone was covering Don't Stop Believin' at the time. And just like Glee and Rock of Ages, the Chipmunks cover was nothing to write home about.
But they made some changes in the second verse that just make no sense. Okay, I get why they changed smoky room to crowded room.
Since the original line implies smoking cigarettes or other illicit substances. And removing the line about the smell of wine also makes sense, since they probably don't want to encourage underage drinking.
But why'd they change the line about perfume?
Perfume itself isn't inherently dirty, it's just used for smelling good. It's basically just the female version of aftershave. Of course, given how important smell is to non-primate mammal behavior, I'm not sure if chipmunks would even wear perfume. On the other hand, I'm not sure whether the chipmunks' level of anthropomorphism is such that they still rely on smell to distinguish individuals.
Oh no, I've gone cross-eyed.
And also, the smell of cheap cartoons. Do cheap cartoons have a smell?
Because unless you're implying that the narrator has this strange supernatural ability to smell cartoons on a TV screen, that line just seems poorly written.
Also worth noting that this cover was released in 2008.
At that time, it had been decades since the Chipmunks show from the 80s had ended, and it would be another 7 years until their next TV show would be created. So this line is also inaccurate. Nobody could watch their show because they had no show to speak of.
But hey, could be worse. Could be Kids Bop.
Babe, I was doing just fine before I met you.
Kidz Bop is a tragically long-running series of albums purporting to be today's hits sung by kids for kids. Kidz Bop covers are known for being terrible and cringeworthy, and often about a subject matter so unsuitable for kids that it requires many of the lyrics to be censored. It's a punching bag for the internet, yet despite all this, it's a project that still managed to last nearly 40 albums.
This is a fact that makes me lose faith in humanity.
If you want a quick sum of everything wrong with Kidz Bop, take a listen to their cover of the song Closer. Huh, no, not that song, though the thought of them covering that song is rather hilarious. No, I mean their cover of the song Closer by the Chainsmokers.
So baby, pull me closer as we stand against the rover that I know they can't afford.
They can't afford? Who's they? What, your parents? Smooth move, mentioning your parents in the middle of your love song.
How romantic.
Also, what, are your parents going car shopping or something, and you're just making out with this chick while leaning against a Rover in the dealership parking lot?
Brush that's just right off your shoulder.
Nobody says that, Kidz Bop. You know nobody says that.
Pull the sheets right off the corner of the notebook that you stole from your friends way back in Boulder. We ain't ever getting older.
What the hell was that?
This was already pretty hard to listen to due to the ick factor of kids trying to sing about romance, but that line was just hilariously bad. The original chorus at least makes sense. They're hooking up in the back of her car and then hooking up in her bedroom. But with this chorus, I can't help but imagine someone seductively tearing pages of paper out of a notebook.
Yeah, baby. You like it when I rip this page right out of my notebook? I bet you do, you naughty makes you. How about when I pop this bubble wrap? Oh yeah, how about that? Does that make you horny, baby? Does that make you okay? That suddenly got weird. I apologize for that. Let's move on.
Today I don't feel like doing anything.
Alright, I promised myself I wouldn't talk too much about Kidz Bop on this list, but come on, they're such an easy target.
Honestly though, Bruno Mars' The Lazy Song seems at least somewhat fitting for Kidz Bop to cover. In theory, the song's lackadaisical attitude feels way more in tune with kids than, say, songs about phone sex or whatever.
I know when the hotline bling.
Ugh, can't believe that's a real thing.
That said, it's still on this list for a reason.
I'm gonna kick my feet up and stare at the fan. Turn the TV on, throw my hands in the air.
That doesn't rhyme, Kidz Bop. You know that doesn't rhyme.
Like, I think I could even come up with a better rhyme than that.
I'm gonna kick my feet up and stare at the fan, turn the TV on in my soft pajama pants. There, was that so hard?
Tomorrow I'll wake up, do some P90X.
Is that what kids do? They wake up in the morning and do an intense workout regimen? Okay.
Meet a really nice girl, send a really nice text, and she's gonna write back, you're so great.
Wait, why would you text her if you just met her? Wouldn't you just talk to her in person?
I get that the original line wasn't exactly child-friendly.
Meet a really nice girl, have some really nice sex, and she's gonna scream out, this is great.
But you could have tried harder to censor it than this. This just makes it sound like you believe that young people do nothing but text 24/7.
Ha! Millennials always texting.
For the record, I only know this lyric because of Jack's Film's video, The Kidz Bop Quiz. Worth a watch if you ever feel like losing part of your soul. Hell yeah! Get Low by Lil Jon is one of those classic crunk songs from the 2000s.
I'm not even a fan of this particular subgenre, but every time I hear that chorus, I can't help but get hyped. To the window! To the walls! Now, in the clean version of this song, the chorus goes like this. Now, I was originally going to make fun of how the censored version swaps bitches for females, which just makes them sound like Quark from Deep Space Nine.
But instead, I'm going to focus on the chorus's use of the word skeet, which is hip-hop slang for, well... yeah, that. So I find it funny that the chorus removed the words balls, bitches, and motherfucker, but in doing so, it more than doubled the number of references to male ejaculation. And that they were allowed to mention skeet in such a high frequency, but had to remove the reference to balls, where skeet is quite literally produced and stored.
I guess that's what happens when the censors aren't up to date on current slang.
One upper operate.
Megadeth did a cover of These Boots by Nancy Sinatra. I'm scared. Say, this actually sounds kind of awesome.
I love how they mix the band's usual metal instrumentation with the smoother beat of the original. Almost reminds me of Van Halen or something. I have my doubts, but I'm actually really into this.
You keep saying you got something for me, something you got love. And now someone else.
Okay, stop. What the hell is going on here?
Is this just a weird version of Mad Libs where you're supposed to substitute the beeps for words? Why is more of this song redacted than the Mueller report?
Well, apparently you can blame this on the original songwriter Lee Hazelwood.
Megadeth lead singer Dave Mustaine changed some of the lyrics to the original song to be more aggressive and sexual in nature, thus more fitting from a male perspective. But when Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good started selling well, Hazelwood suddenly started demanding that the song be removed, calling it a perversion of the original.
Which is stupid because, according to Mustaine, Hazelwood had accepted royalty checks for years and didn't have any problem with the song until the 90s.
After threats of legal action, the band was ultimately forced to remove the song from future pressings, and when they re-released the album in 2002, they were required to censor every lyric change.
And I do mean every lyric change, not just the vulgar or sexual ones. For example... Now, this is what Mustaine originally sang. Which is not sexual or vulgar at all.
Another time he sings this.
These boots are made for walking, that's just what I'll do. One of these days these boots will get all of you.
The word that was censored there was stomp, as in, these boots are gonna stomp over you. You know...
I find it funny that Hazelwood found Megadeth's rendition of the song to be too vulgar and demanded it to be censored, considering that the overuse of that beep only serves to make their cover sound even more vulgar than it really was.
It was like when the Lonely Island had to record a clean version of their song Jizz in My Pants with the word jizz omitted. You know what they did instead?
In my pants.
That's right, they substituted the word jizz with an incredibly sexual moan that sounds like someone jizzing. This is one of the greatest things I've ever heard.
Now, number 1 is another Kidz Bop song.
If I were to be entirely honest though, Born This Way is actually one of the better songs that Kidz Bop has covered. The school environment can be brutally judgmental, and a lot of young people can feel like they don't belong if they are a little different. It makes sense for Kidz Bop to cover this song since it does contain a message that kids need to hear. So with all that said, why is this still number 1 on my list?
Well, the original song contains this lyric.
No matter gay, straight or bi, lesbian, transgender life, I'm on the right track, baby, I was born to survive.
Now, guess what they do in the Kidz Bop version?
Where their life disabilities.
Yep.
Oh, and nice job including that instrumental break. As if the sound engineer had to take a second to contemplate the fact that he was really doing something so shitty. Hell, they even changed this earlier lyric.
A different love is not a sin. A different viewpoint is not a sin.
Ironically, changing all these lyrics proves that you aren't open to a different viewpoint.
Now, I put this at number 1 for a reason. This censoring isn't just bad, it also goes completely against the original point of the song. The original song probably spoke to a lot of gay or trans kids growing up, feeling like they didn't fit in, like they were freaks, unnatural, but heard this song tell them, hey, you're awesome, no matter who you are or who you love, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But by removing these lines, it completely undermines the original song's message of acceptance.
And for anyone who's about to say, well, kids shouldn't hear about homosexuality because then it'll turn them gay, do you realize how you fucking sound?
A lot of gay people probably grew up with nothing but straight characters, couples, and songs in the media, but they still didn't turn out straight. Similarly, your kids hearing about homosexuality on the radio or seeing gay characters in their favorite cartoons isn't going to magically turn them gay, and even if it did, who the hell cares? Calm down and drink a Coca-Cola. Sorry, I mean a cherry cola.
Well, that's my list. Got any other examples of stupid censoring? Leave them down in the comments below. As for me, well, as ironic as it would be, I just hope YouTube doesn't censor this video. Oh, Oh, you mother...